Hey, welcome to 180 podcast.
My name is Nick. Um, I'm a student. Okay, got it. It was just all over.
Okay,
Yeah.
so my name is Paul, and I've been a volunteer with Scouts Canada for 14, 13 years, specifically with this group. And our group, our Rover Crew, as I call it, is focused on the 18 to 26-year-old age group that not a lot of people, I think, generally know that exists in scouting. That it goes, in Canada anyways, it goes all the way to the age of 26 years old. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been volunteering for a long time. In my professional day job, I've been in banking, I've been in consulting, and currently I'm in healthcare and doing a lot of things with analytics, doing a lot of things with technology and transformation and innovation. And I think that's partly the reason why I've really tried to help our group use some of these modern tools because as we're going to go through kind of why this podcast exists in more detail, one of the big reasons is to promote innovation. Even though podcasts are kind of regular day-to-day product now, right, Nick? Don't you think? Like it's been around for a long time. It's nothing new, but it might be new to some people.
Definitely agree with that. I mean, it's always been there, and I feel like it has to existed and growed for throughout time because you can connect with the person, right? You don't need to know how they look, right? But you can feel that connection and chemistry growing to their words, their pace, the tone of speech, and everything.
Yeah, so something that I ask myself, if something is kind of not old but like kind of mainstream, is do your parents know about it? And that used to be more applicable maybe when I was younger, because now I'm teaching my parents a lot of these things. But let me ask you this, Nick: do your parents listen to podcasts? Do they even know what they are, and what's the purpose of them?
Not really. Maybe I can just say that they're from Vietnam. They in country where this type of publication, type of platform does
Public
not
public
exist
speech, yeah.
popular. Yeah, it's not popular. It's not really popular. But I would say no. Yeah, it's gonna be really new to them and to a lot of people in my country as well. So
Yeah, so I don't think it's quite mainstream. I don't think my parents are on podcasts, but they do want. Actually, you know what? They do watch YouTube of people with more opinion pieces and less cable TV. But I think it's still something that's still growing, and there's a lot of opportunity for our group to leverage this medium. So going back to why we started this, right? Like, I don't think we want to talk about the reason scouting exists or the scouting movement itself. But what we do want to mention is that the reason why I'm here and why Nick is here is because I think this program fundamentally promotes youth development. So that's development as an individual, that's development as a better teammate, that's development as a better person, a citizen. And for 100 years, that's kind of what we've taken away from it. Now, other people take other things away from it. And there's definitely different groups and different beliefs out there. But I think in Canada specifically, I think it's a very open and inclusive community that's just trying to promote helping young people achieve their potential. And why that's important, I think for many reasons. I mean, I put a list here before Nick and I got together and listed all these great achievements that were done by people that were under 30 years old, right? So, the first man in space, Yuri Gagarin, he was 27 years old when he went to space. So that's only 1 year older than our graduate year in the crew. Einstein discovered relativity when he was in his 20s. He published his 4 papers, I think, on the subject when he was 26 years old. Joan of Arc, I think, was 17 when she led her first battle, her victory. And the two youngest people, separated by only 1 month, to climb Everest were 13 years old. So, Nick, I don't know, do you think you could have climbed Everest when you were 13 years old?
definitely no. I think I struggle. I'm in a really better shape nowadays, but back in the days, man, I was like pretty really hard with like 2 level of stairs.
Yeah. Just to mention their names, Malavath Purna. She's from India. She was the first female. And a month older was a U.S. boy, I guess, Jordan Romero, 13 years old. Crazy. And, okay, this is a funny side story. I wasn't really into hiking before I joined scouting. This was, 15 years ago? So I was 22 years old. So you guys out there can do the math. But my very first hike was our first international project. My first like hike for more than 2 hours, like legitimate hike, was actually Mount Fuji. So we did this overnight hike. For some reason, we started at 7 p.m. because we wanted to see the sunrise. By 22 years old, the night before, I was out in Tokyo a bit later than I should have been. And my first hike, legitimate hike, was climbing Mount Fuji, and it was very, very difficult. I brought all the wrong gear, and it was in the middle of the summer, and I wore shorts, but it was like almost 5 degrees on top of the mountain. To see these people do it at 13 years old is just incredible.
I bet Mount Fuji is very beautiful, hey?
It is beautiful at the very top, but you know what? It's very cloudy as well, so it's very hard to see anything that day. That's the risk every time you go hiking, right?
Yeah.
Whenever it's cloudy, it's kind of a hard to swallow when you can't get a good view.
I mean, to add on to that, my actual first hike in Canada was done with a crew as well. It was actually on my birthday, right? We decided to climb Elfin Lake. It was a 7.5 hour, climb uphill, tons of snow at the later half of the journey. I went in handicap because I forgot my water bottle and my sunscreen and my lunchbox on the counter at my house. But I reached the top, out of breath, purple face, but I did make it. The scenery was really good, but what astonished me was, like I made it. I did a 7.5 hour hike, whereas my most recent hike compared to that was like only like an hour, and it was like 4 years ago already, right? So I gained like super achievement. I feel super achieved and super powerful at that time.
How did you feel? And I'm curious, how did you feel about doing that with the group of people you did it with?
They were amazing, right? I mean, of course, I couldn't make it with, Alvin was in the group. He lent me water bottles. Scout Karina lent me some bottles as well. The hummus and the vegetables brought by, Scout Nick was amazing. I didn't know I enjoy eating hummus until that time. 5 hours in the journey, seeing that my walking stick was now functioning properly. Gwen lent me her walking stick, and it helped, through those kind of steep trails. Yeah, I mean, I feel it's really helpful, dynamic, and we all support each other any way we can. We have laughter, pictures along the way. It's really fun. I guess the only thing missing out of those trails that the people in the group couldn't give me was a bear. I mean, I decided I want to see a bear in real, real life in nature. But yes, it's just my luck. But yeah, the people's been amazing.
Yeah. So this is actually good segue to just why we're doing this, right? That first hike I did was actually a big reason why I've been with the group and I've continued to volunteer in the group, because like I told you, I was not as prepared as I should have been for this hike. There were other people who had been scouting and doing hiking outdoors with since they were a lot younger for a long time. So this was kind of my first time, and it was probably at the time the most physically grueling thing I did. And some people stay in the mountain like halfway and then they see the sunrise, but we just decided to go. We're young, we had a lot of ambition, and nothing can stop us at the time, so we just decided to keep on going 5-6 hours straight. And we were sleep deprived because we had traveled the whole morning. We had, some of us had gone out late that night, which we shouldn't have, but we were young and we were in Japan, and I almost didn't make it. Actually, I almost didn't make it. We were at the very last steps. We had waited. There's like 12 stations to get to the top of Mount Fuji, and we started at station 5, and we were at station 11. And between station 11 and station 12 was kind of like that last part of the Gross Grind. If you've done the Gross Grind, Nick, it was all uphill, just at the very top, and my legs just froze. They stopped working. Like I had no more oxygen in my legs. I could only literally move one leg every 30 seconds. But Scouter Lester and Scouter Sophia, characters in our story that you guys will maybe learn about later on, they stuck by me every step of the way, and they would not let me fail. They would not let me not get to the very top. And at that time, 22, 23 years old, I just joined this group of people. Some of them I met for the first time on this international trip across the world. Like very first time, like literally there was a person that I met at the airport, like for the first time going on this first project we did, like this international trip we did. And they wouldn't let me fail. And if I did fail and I didn't get to the top, I would have been, so regretful, right? Like you do all this hiking all night long, and you miss the actual sunrise. But two people who barely knew me stood by me and wouldn't let me give up on myself. And that memory has stuck for me for the last 15 years. I don't know if you heard that before, Nick.
Oh, that's actually the first time. Thank you for telling.
That's when you hear about the Mount Fuji story that Scouter Paul tells. That's the one that really sticks to me. So my alignment, scouting represents different things to different people. I think we have to acknowledge that in all parts of the world, even locally, it means different things. But it's a movement. It's not an organization. It's not someone deciding that this is what it represents and that we all align to it. It's a movement, right? It is what you make of it and the experience. So that's what I made of the experience, is that this program taught me a lot about my self-worth, about determination, about being part of a team. And I think that's always held me together when times have been tough, personally and professionally. Even working with young people and having the patience, because I definitely got a lot of patience from those who were older and more experienced than me when I was younger in the group.
Wow. I mean, I didn't expect to hear the story today, but it's awesome to hear that you have such an experience and thoughts about not just your Mount Fuji story, but the scouting movement in general, right?
Yeah.
I grew up in scouting in my country. It's, of course, like you said, we did quite a few different things compared to here in Canada. But growing up, I've always had these brothers of mine, right? Like these older brother figures who taught me like how to behave, what to do, what's the correct way to do this, and all those kind of things. And sometimes, in a very humble way, I feel like I more mature compared to my peers, right, in high school and everything. I don't think it's because of me as a genius, as a prodigy, or someone like that, but I think it's because I was with these guys, right? Like they experience a lot of stuff, and they just always be so amazing to hang around, and they taught me things that they know. They don't want me to make the same mistakes and everything, and that kind of subconsciously and indirectly make me who I am today. Like somehow in my subconscious mind, I feel like I'm more ready to face what the world's throwing at me because of the time I spent with them. And that's why I came to Canada and then learned about this group. I want to join in. And the experience might be a little bit different, but I still get that same chemistry and that feelings, emotions, where if I'm with these people, maybe today is not so bad. Maybe COVID's not so bad.
Yeah, and they say that you are basically the makeup of like the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right?
Yeah.
Because I think humans were very social people. Even during COVID, even working from home, and I still love connecting with my coworkers about different stuff too, not just from work point of view, because you need to have that social connection, because their attitudes and their beliefs and values, they are reflective of your own. So if you're around people with good values, with a very open mind, with this kind of drive to be more successful and to work hard, I think that it makes a big difference in terms of who you are. You're not just born to be someone who just a hardworking, diligent person that values all these good things. Like those are because of your parents, those are because of your friends, people you grew up with. And I think when you're at this age though, you're more conscious about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you agree with me, right?
Sure.
Like when you're younger, you kind of just listen to your parents and you kind of mimic who they are, right? And then if you're in the playground and someone does something and people laugh or cheer, then you do the same thing. If someone, that's why bullying is such a big deal. And I think I look at it now like it was such a big. I mean, I was bullied as a kid as well, right? And I've been a bully, right? I remember one kid. Maybe we can add this another story. Story time. I'm just mentioning because it was a very vivid memory, and you mentioned about being younger and the people around you making you who you are. This one kid made fun of me for bringing a hot dog for lunch. I was like grade 2, I think. Okay, this is the first. Like, I don't really share this with a lot of people. Any of the scouts, just you, Nick, just you, me, and the mic.
And tons of our listeners, yeah.
And you know what? It didn't. You know, my mom was, she was working all the time, and we had someone get us home and take care of us at home. So, she did what she could, and she made hot dogs. She's like, hot dog, you like hot dogs normally, so here's a hot dog. And someone made fun of me for eating a hot dog, and I never wanted hot dogs for lunch ever again. Right? It seems super silly, but it's just a hot, put some ketchup, mustard, bun, and sausage. That's all it is. And I'm sure lots of kids today would gladly take hot dogs for lunch.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, of course.
It took one kid to be mean to me about it, and I don't think I ever had in high school or junior, ever had a hot dog. So the people around us, we get easily influenced as younger, but then as we get older, we're so conscious about the things that influence us.
I don't know, but I totally did expect, such thoughts and conversations coming from a hot dog. Like to me, hot dogs like Costco hot dogs, $2. My go-to lunch back in my first year as an undergraduate, because I was broke, but more because I enjoyed that hot dog really, 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 really much.
Yeah. Anyways,
let's
get back on track a little bit. So we talked a little bit about why we think having a podcast is important for our group, a group that focuses on leadership and development of young people aged 18 to 26. But within our group, I think there was a couple of things that Nick and I, really wanted to as a driving force for why we're doing this. If you're in Metro Vancouver and you're in this age group that we're supporting, feel free to reach out to our Instagram or to us directly to learn more about our program and how we can build some of these career skills, personal skills by connecting with some pretty good people.
Yeah.
Innovation. I talked about that in my job, and I think scouting as a movement, any nonprofit these days, and any organization, especially during COVID, we need to innovate the way we communicate and the way we brand ourselves and send our message out there, right? And the next thing. So I mentioned this in our pre-brief, institutional memory. And this is something I picked up at work and just talks about any organization. Just sometimes there are things in the organization that can't be written down or aren't written down. So the institution itself needs to remember. And the best way to do that is having people be there for a long enough period of time to pass those stories on. And, it's very informally done. But, these days, if there's more turnover, so this is a great medium for us to interview people, talk to people who are connected to our program, but also talk to people outside our program and learn more about them, and having a record and as part of a fabric of our organization.
As for me, adding on to that, the crew is basically a sandbox opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we welcome people to train skills and test out and different projects that's more aligned to their interests as well, because the crew is built on its member. Gathering all those things from the hot dog story, from the Mount Fuji story, from my hiking story and everything. Is that I want to re-emphasize again that at the end of the day, we are all social creatures, right? We influence and be influenced by the people close to us, right? And that is why this crew is good, because we share similar interests, similar goals of becoming better in everything, and we hold each other accountable for that.
Yeah, it's an opportunity that, sometimes you hang with your friends and hang with people or grew up with. You don't have a real purpose other than just be friends, right? Just to have some people to talk to and share their life with a little bit. But I think in our group, what makes our friendships different is, we're driven by purpose, and we're driven by achieving something greater than ourselves. And a lot of that sounds very altruistic. A lot of that sounds very idealistic. But I think it's also practical in some sense too, right? I think it has made me a bit more of an understanding and patient person, and willing to work with others, right? And I think a lot of people who've gone through our program can say that, or maybe even learned the type of people they don't like to work with, not just the people they do like to work with, right?
Which is also a good thing, by the way.
Yeah, we just want to share some stories. We want to remember the good days from our group, because I think at one point our group was 150 people. Not quite that many now, but we got some great folks part of our program. So Nick, what can our listeners expect from future episodes?
Well, thank you for asking, Scatterpole. Of course, my mind went blank there.
I mean,
my mind went back there.
let's just talk casually. Okay, so Nick, what can we expect? What are some ideas that we have? Ideas that you have that you really wanted to tackle as part of this project?
I want to interview our alumni or people who in certain experts in certain fields that I want to learn from, or I want to improve at least those kind of life aspects in my life. Like maybe someone who's from a finance industry, in a skincare industry, right? Because I have to take care of my beauty and appearance. But I guess at the end of the day is I want to learn from different experts from a lot various views, not just for myself, but for our listeners. They can learn new things and apply them to their life just to make it better 0.1% every day.
Yeah, so like I mentioned in the explanation of why we're doing this, I think we have a lot of great stories in this group, and this group that we've promoted to many different young people in the Metro Vancouver area. And I think bringing in alumni to share their experiences when they were with our group and maybe outside, and what they're doing today, and some of the really cool, interesting things. We have an alumni who has started his own YouTube channel on finance. We'd like to bring in our first Rover Crew president, or the co-founder of the group, and he can share with our listeners and even our members, past and present, about the journey that the group was on when he started and where he is now. I think we have a lot of connections to our group, maybe full-time members, maybe members who had a cup of coffee with us that can share with us a little bit about their lives and what they do. And it's about people, right? Like you said, we're social creatures. So this podcast is really about connecting young people to ideas and people, hopefully inspire them to make a change, inspire them to do something differently, to consciously kind of grow and think about growing. So we're hoping to get a lot of different point of views, different interesting people that we know, and maybe people that we don't know. It'd be really cool to interview people that we have cold call or reach out to and just say, hey, you sound like you're doing something interesting. Why don't you tell us about it, right?
Yep.
Okay. Nick, I think your roommates want to party some more. So yeah, thank you for listening.
This podcast is a project created by her 18th Pacific Coast Scout Group, where we created awesome leadership and management training program for 18 to 26 years old. If you want to learn more about us, check out our website and social media accounts, link in description.